10, so 11th it will be Daniel Ricciardo. Mick Schumacher for the other Haas needs a decent weekend, really needs some points if he's going to try and muscle his way back into that team for next season. Then it's Zhou and Bottas, Stroll, Ocon, Alonso, Latifi, Albon. Tsunoda starts from the pit lane after they had to replace a whole load of parts on his car. They've replaced parts on Ocon's car as well after he had a fire yesterday in the pit lane, Jack Nicholls, but somehow they've managed to get him to still start 16th alongside the man he just...
And Lando radio check, please.
Yeah, all good.
Good,
Oh.
There was a good joke in there somewhere. Yeah.
That was it, wasn't it? Was that not it?
It was 6 out of 10.
Okay, fine. Yeah, they came together
It's all in the
twice.
delivery, eh?
They came together twice yesterday, and first time down at turn 4 on the opening lap, and then later around the lap. And Alonso actually got given a penalty for the later incident for basically just kind of driving into the back of Ocon. It looked, when you're on board with Alonso, that Ocon's moved across and, you know, it's not good, but the stewards looked at it, you looked at it as well yesterday, Jack, and Ocon didn't really move. He didn't even know that it had happened.
Yeah, it was, I think, more a case of Fernando putting himself in harm's way. And he does like to be super aggressive when he's making those moves. You know, it's not the first time we've seen that from him. But yeah, it was an unfortunate situation for the whole team yesterday. I can be quite confident that there was a fair bollocking in the debrief yesterday. And, you know, it may not have been aimed at one driver more than the other because, you know, the moves were mostly racing incidents, but the difference is it's your teammate. And as they would have said in the debrief, you've got a whole team, you know, hundreds and hundreds of people relying on you here.
Just for reference, we won't use that word again. Apologies to anyone that was listening that might be slightly offended. This is what happens if you invite the youth.
I don't
youth
know.
in.
Didn't Krishnan Guru Murthy say that on
Yeah.
Channel 4 the other day, and it got away, and he was all right.
2.5 minutes until the start of
We're
the
a bit sorry.
formation lap.
We're a little bit sorry.
It's coming up towards 6 o'clock in the UK, and we have lots to look forward to. George Russell, are we being a little unfair to think he can't go out and win this race? He starts in pole position.
Well, interestingly, the tyre choices have just come through, and Ferrari and Charles Leclerc are on the mediums.
Brilliant. That'll be a
So the
stroke of genius.
Interesting. So the tyre that everybody said yesterday was not the right tyre to be on, and I think, was it Russell said earlier on today or yesterday, our engineers won't be wasting too much time thinking what tyre to start on, thinking they'll all go on the softs, but the Ferraris are on the mediums, Magnussen's on the mediums, Schumacher's on those. So the Ferrari's the Haas, the Aston Martin of Stroll, and Alonso, Latifi and Tsunoda are on the mediums. Everyone else is on the soft tyre. Russell can win the Grand Prix. Of course he can.
Interesting, Alex Albon has gone for the hard tyre, the only one of the runners out there. And I think everyone's really low on data. They're all going to be watching each other, looking for signs of what works. We were predicting we got told the hard tyre to use in this race at all. Albon's tried something different.
Yeah, well, you know, it was a tough race for the two Williams cars yesterday, and they're at the back of the grid, so it's a case of trying something different and changing up the strategy. It could actually be a benefit for you if there's a well-timed safety car, and they really just have to try and just do something different.
Well, Max Verstappen on those soft tyres alongside Sergio Perez in the Red Bull, starting on the second row. In front of them, it'll be Lewis Hamilton and George Russell also on the soft tyres. The short 150-metre run down to turn 1 stands between them and what could be a very exciting start. Jack Nicholls, it's all set up. We're ready for the Sao Paulo Grand Prix.
Very interesting race coming up here on Sports Extra. George Russell and Lewis Hamilton locking out the front row. Penultimate race of the season. There's been a lot of talk this year about whether Mercedes can get a win. Only Red Bull and Ferrari have won Grand Prix so far this season, but this is Mercedes' opportunity with a front row lockout, and the top 4 all starting on the soft tyre. Leclerc in 5th on the mediums, could be under a bit of pressure from Lando Norris in the early stages. The grid is cleared. 19 F1 cars. You got this. They're about to pull away on their formation lap. It is 6 o'clock here on Sports Extra. This, the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. So the cars making their way around on the formation lap. The grid will line up thus. George Russell on pole position for Mercedes with Lewis Hamilton alongside him on the front row, his teammate. Then it is Verstappen and Perez, third and fourth. Fifth for Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari. Sixth is Lando Norris's McLaren. Seventh is Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari. Magnussen is eighth, Vettel is ninth, and Pierre Gasly completes the top 10. Ricciardo, Schumacher, Joe, Bottas and Stroll are the top 15. Ocon, Alonso, Latifi and Albon the 19 drivers, with Tsunoda starting from the pits.
It's going to be a busy afternoon. Lots to play for. Strategy, pit stops, undercuts. It's going to be a busy one. Be in the mix at the right times.
Yeah. Comes will be important.
We'll be all over it.
Formula One Grand Prix lining up on pole position. Hamilton won last year, Verstappen in 2019, Hamilton the year before that. He's got a one-on, one-off record of victory here, Lewis Hamilton. Amazingly, that 2016 wet race win was his first win at this circuit, despite winning his first World Championship title in Interlagos back in 2008. They're already coming out of the final corner now, and it's quite a big field spread actually. Some of the Albon's only coming through the middle sector now, so they'll have a long time to wait on the grid, and Russell will start to back them up a little bit now as he dramatically weaves around from left to right. Some intense style warm-up going on. There's a little more than normal.
Yeah, well, everyone knows how important this start is going to be. The two Mercedes drivers in particular, the first car after the first lap is the one that will get the preferential strategy. So they'll both feel a responsibility to not do what the Alpines did yesterday, but it's a massively important first couple of corners.
The Mercedes locking out the front row of the grid, Jenny.
Yeah, if you're going on a soft tyre, you're expecting to go to at least lap 18 before you pit for 2 stops. Medium, you want to get to lap 28.
So perhaps one of the most anticipated and interesting Formula One Grand Prix of the season about to get underway. Alex Albon is just weaving around at the back of the field to take up his place on the hard tyres right at the back of the field after he had to retire from the sprint yesterday. And once he pulls up into position, the lights will come on, they'll go off, and the little short sprint to the first left-hander at the centre S will be on. An uphill grid slot as everybody is pointing up, facing the lights. Russell on pole, Hamilton.
So we have got everything sorted at the front.
For Hamilton, Perez is coming up on the inside of Max Verstappen. Norris sends it in super deep, and he just about manages to avoid hitting Sergio Perez. That was so close with Lando Norris, but the two Mercedes have held the lead and are sprinting clear as they come down towards turn 4 for the first time. Still Verstappen in third place. It's fourth place for Perez. Norris has gone of the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc that started on the medium tyres. That couldn't have gone anywhere really for Leclerc, allowing Norris to get up ahead of him. It's going to be a long afternoon now for the Ferrari. He goes to the outside, coming up into Ferradura. A lot more calm of an opening lap compared to yesterday, but the two Mercedes got away exactly as they would have wanted. And there's a bit of contact, and Magnussen sent spinning. Ooh. And he goes backwards into Ricciardo, who's out of the Grand Prix as well. Ricciardo tagged the rear of Magnussen. Magnussen came off the brakes, rolled back across the track and collected Ricciardo. And the safety car is deployed with Russell leading, Hamilton second, Verstappen third, Perez fourth, Norris up to fifth. The Ferrari's in 6th and 7th. Safety car out.
That was just a series of 50-50 decisions in a very short space of time that went wrong for those two. So Magnussen saw Ricciardo poking his nose up the inside. He kind of closes it off, but not fully. Gets a very light tag, goes into a spin, and then Magnussen doesn't get on the brakes to avoid rolling into the McLaren of Ricciardo, who's just trying to get around. And that was a really heavy hit.
And Magnussen was trying to sort of roll out of the way of the oncoming pack, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So that was an unfortunate scenario there. I mean, it was a tough one. Ricciardo stuck his nose up the inside. Magnussen, I think, knew he was there and kind of closed the door initially to squeeze him, but then Ricciardo had kind of committed and didn't really have anywhere to go. Tough one to read, that one.
Yeah, I think that's a bit of a racing incident. I mean, Daniel was trying to intimidate Magnussen into giving him the space, and Magnussen didn't close the door immediately, kind of left half a car's width, and Ricciardo was still there. It was very awkward, but
I think those two came together in 2019, didn't they? Down at turn 4. I think Ricciardo was on the car on the outside got the penalty, I think, if I recall correctly. Magnussen and Ricciardo going down to have a little conversation. They both kind of pat each other on the back. And the weekend that started so well for Kevin Magnussen has dissolved.
That's the frustration, isn't it, for them, I think, because Haas are looking on, okay, we're in pole position to win qualifying, if you can win qualifying, and then we slip back a bit, but to now be out of the race with one of their cars. I mean, Mick Schumacher in the other Haas is in 10th place, which is good news for him as they crawl slowly around the debris and go past those two stricken cars on lap 2 of this race behind the safety car. But yeah, the highs and lows of racing, and that sums it up so well. In one weekend you can have the utter scenes of jubilation at pole and then crash out on lap 1.
So just looking at a replay of the start here, and it couldn't have been better for the Mercedes. Not only did they get a good jump on the Red Bulls, so they had clear air, but they also managed to get there in 1-2 order very cleanly, so there was no fighting between the two of them. We also saw how close Norris got to Perez.
I thought he was wiping both the Red Bulls out. I thought he was taking them both out.
He had to get fully over that inside curb to avoid doing any harm, and yeah, managed to avoid bottoming out and sliding into Perez, and Perez gave him just enough space.
Leclerc's been on the radio. There's something strange with the engine out of turn 3. He's already lost a place to Norris. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, he wasn't quite close enough to make the move back. We're now getting a replay on board with Ricciardo. He's a long way back, and he's got on the brakes. And well, it's almost like he's kind of got on the power earlier than Magnussen there. It did look like he'd fully backed out of the move.
Yeah, he had.
Sorry guys, I'm out. I'm gonna push.
Yep.
Someone.
Damn shame, Kev. Good point up to that.
Yeah, push.
Copy that. Yep.
Someone.
Damn shame, Kev. Good point up to that.
That's a strange one, because like I say, Ricciardo was getting on the power and Magnussen just sort of wasn't. It was a long way around the corner that the contact occurred. They're hoisting Magnussen's car and Ricciardo's car away now on the side of the circuit. That was up at turn 7 on the inside, just before the downhill, well, sort of swooping downhill left-hander of Pinheiro. Lap 3 of 71. Safety car deployed in the Brazilian Grand Prix.
Just wondering, for those starting on those medium tyres, by now they would have hoped to have got them up to speed and a nice temperature and started to really see some benefits of the medium. Now
Cars are still being removed. Okay, copy. There's a couple of laps, I think.
around you?
Yeah, I think it's double-edged because the safety car period overall probably does help the soft runners in terms of the strategy and being able to take them longer into the race. But if you're on the mediums, rather than doing a very slow formation lap, you're now able to at least do some weaving, some braking to slowly bring up the temperature under the safety car. Doesn't mean that they're not going to be at a slight disadvantage under the safety car restart, but yeah, at least they're getting a couple of laps to bring those tyres in gently.
It's also only the Ferraris on the mediums of note, isn't it? So it's what can they do really from 6th and 7th, and how long are they going to be stuck behind Lando Norris as Russell continues to lead the way. Safety car out as they clear the debris away from the inside of the circuit. Ricciardo's already back in the pad in the garage.
There was something strange out of turn 3 with the engine.
Copy, checking in.
And I lost a lot of...
Where was that?
Only one spare seat in the medical car.
Yeah, exactly. Perhaps. So Magnussen is there. Is there only one spare seat in the medical car?
Well, you've got your driver, your doctor, your local doctor in the back, so that means one spare seat, unless you're in the middle.
Really?
There was something strange out of turn 3 with the engine.
Copy, checking in.
And I lost a lot of time on power.
That was what the radio message Jenny was talking about a little bit earlier on.
Can't even go in the boot, I don't think, because they've got all the paraphernalia in there, so you can hold on to the top.
Yeah, it's sort of, I don't know, it sort of feels like you should have room for two drivers in there.
Too small. I mean, they're not bulky, are they? Squeeze them in.
But Magnussen obviously didn't fancy the ride.
So Charles, we've checked what you are talking about, the corner exit, and nothing we can do at the moment. I will keep you updated if any news on that.
Yeah, but let me know. Is it a problem? No. What?
No, it's not a
Is it a problem? No. What?
No, it's not a problem.
It's just a really, really terrible communication.
Yeah, because that made it sound like there was a problem.
Yeah.
This has been a struggle for them all season. Feels like communication is a big issue for Ferrari, and they've said, you know, Charles Leclerc told me in Austin, on top of all the procedural stuff, so we're across that when we actually come back next year and maybe we can fight for this championship. And it seems like they're still struggling with those simple basics premise of talking.
Yeah, you know, talking for the right amount of time in the right place is so important, especially, you know, okay, they're under safety car now and that's fine, but if it was go time, if they were racing, the last thing you want is to be...
Okay, so go race when you can.
Engineers just told you while you're trying to focus on what's ahead of you.
Lap 5 of 71. Alex Albon has just pitted to go from the hard tyres to the medium tyres, so that puts him on a sort of different strategy. He was at the back of the field anyway, Albon, other than Yuki Tsunoda, so not 100% sure what that's actually
66
achieved.
laps on the medium, I think, coming up.
Yeah, do you think?
No, I don't. That would be pretty ambitious, but let's see.
Yeah.
It's probably just aiming to get maybe onto the better race tyre.
But he could have started on the mediums.
That's why I'm confused.
Yeah.
They've gone on to that. Maybe he had a slow puncture or picked up debris or something, because to me, that's a very confusing thing to do, to start out on a hard tyre and then suddenly decide off 6 laps behind your safety car to switch you onto the mediums. I'll try and find out.
So we'll get a replay of Norris's start. That's the sound you can hear. And I'm not sure how much he was trying to attack the Red Bulls into turn 1, or if he just brakes later than everybody else. Oh, whoa.
He was already thinking about it, wasn't
Yeah.
he? He kind of moved to the inside, and then when the Red Bulls braked, when they did, he was like, all right, let's have a go. And then just sort of started to lock up, and it's that horrible slow motion crash where you feel like the walls are closing in on you, but he did manage to get all over the curve. I think all 4 wheels inside the white line, but, you know, did well to avoid a collision.
Yeah, because Verstappen was not far to the outside either. Perez was really getting squeezed in the middle there. Safety car will be in then at the end of this lap. The order is Russell, Hamilton, Verstappen, Perez, Norris, the top 5. Leclerc, Sainz, Vettel, Gasly, Schumacher, the top 10. Bottas, Stroll, Joe, Ocon, Alonso, the top 15. Then Latifi, Tsunoda and Albon, the 18 drivers still in the running. Kevin Magnussen and Daniel Ricciardo colliding on the opening lap twice and out of...
So when lights are going off, you're going to dictate the pace.
Coming in at the end of this lap, so Russell will get the restart. We'll see what Verstappen can do at the restart, because if he can get a good run, then that'll be a decent opportunity for him to try and get ahead of Hamilton as they come down the left-hander of Pinarino and then up towards Pico de Pato. When will Russell get this race back underway? Coming down now towards Mergulho. Where are you going if you're Russell?
Late.
Late, okay. Well, all the way down the straight?
Not all the way down, because that can cause a right mess, but it minimises the tow, and, you know, it's a long straight here, so that it's a significant advantage. So, yeah, he's not gone out of the last corner, which is customary on a normal circuit. He's coming around the long left-hander, which is the real last turn, coming up towards pit entry, and he's still not gone, still weaving.
Keeping a constant speed, George Russell, as he floor the throttle. Everybody is trying to get a look at when the Mercedes driver is going to go. Verstappen gets on the throttle here, and he's got a really good restart. He's right behind Lewis Hamilton. Perez has got the best run of all. He looks to the inside of Verstappen, Sergio Perez. Verstappen goes around the outside of Hamilton, coming down into the S's, and there's contact. Hamilton and Verstappen collide. Perez is up into second place. Verstappen is going to be a big with a front left problem, and it's a rear problem for Hamilton. Both of the contenders from last season have come together again, and it looks as though they're going to be out of the running. George Russell is leading, Perez is second, and up into third is going Charles Leclerc. He's going side by side with Lando Norris up the hill towards Ferradura, but Hamilton and Verstappen have collided, and now Leclerc's been hit by Norris. Leclerc is off and into the wall. Leclerc in the Ferrari out of the Grand Prix. So it's Russell leading, Perez second, and Norris.
There's been contact between Verstappen and
Free. So George Russell leading the way, but what a load of mess there is in there. And Ocon is trying to make a move now as well as they go side by side down through Magulio. And is Hamilton still going? Then he is, and he's right behind Verstappen, but surely they will both have to pit. Here's Verstappen's radio.
He let me know this. I'm front wing, guys.
Yeah, box in, Max, box.
So Verstappen will come into the pits. The order is Vettel's up to 5th. The order is Russell, Perez, Norris, Sainz, Vettel, the top 5, Gasly, Schumacher, Hamilton, Stroll, Bottas, the top 10. What did you make of all of that, Jack?
It's too much to take in, isn't it? I mean, it's all happening. But it was a case of the two drivers both going to the absolute limit, as we saw happen so many times last year. Neither wanted to give up space. They wanted to take it right to the limit, and it just wasn't quite enough margin for error.
Verstappen pits, Leclerc pits, Hamilton stays out.
So Leclerc then manages to keep in the Grand Prix. To be fair, he went into the wall gently-ish and kind of straight on. So overall, Russell leading, Perez 2nd, Norris 3rd, Sainz 4th, Vettel 5th, Gasly, Schumacher, Hamilton, Stroll, Bottas the top 10, Ocon and Alonso into 11th and 12th places. Zhou is 13th, 14th is Latifi, 15th is Tsunoda, Albon, Verstappen, Leclerc, the 18 runners. Norris is now coming under pressure from Carlos Sainz. All of that kind of stemmed from a restart that did not go according to plan from George Russell. Perez was on the attack on Verstappen. Verstappen nearly pulled off a great move, but Hamilton squeezed him. Hamilton's now coming back on Kevin Magnussen. Also, Sainz is going past Norris. Oh, sorry, it's not Magnussen. He's out of the race. It's Schumacher. So Hamilton's going Schumacher up into 7th place. Sainz is getting ahead of... The replay now with Verstappen. He threw it to the outside, and then... so 50, he's gone steaming into turn 2, hasn't he?
Well, he's made the assumption that Hamilton will leave him the space, and Hamilton kind of did. Yeah, and Hamilton kind of did, but he was forcing Verstappen to use the apex cover. We're now seeing a replay of the Norris-Leclerc incident, and they went into the very fast double right-hander, turn 6, turn 7. Norris wasn't fully alongside, and Leclerc tried to hang it around the outside. Norris got some understeer.
Are you okay?
He's a...
Well, and Leclerc feels that he left the car's width and should therefore have been, given the space, but Norris was doing his utmost to keep the car on the racing line, but it's just not that easy when you're side by side at that speed.
It's one way to get rid of those medium tires.
I have a cable stuck by the drink pump. The cable's really annoying. My helmet is stuck in that angle.
Paul, I thought he must have had some because he came back onto the track really tentatively after that turn 2 incident, but he's now got back up into 6th position. Russell's lead is 1.5 seconds to Sergio Perez. Then it's 4 seconds back to Sainz, Norris and Vettel. Then Hamilton into 6th, Gasly 7th, Schumacher 8th, 9th is Stroll, 10th is Bottas. I'm happy with racing incident for the Hamilton Verstappen thing. That felt to me, it felt kind of similar to Monza last year, where Hamilton could have given more space, but Verstappen lunged it in, and sometimes contact's going to happen.
I think, like we said, it's just both of these drivers. We've seen it happen numerous times before, but between the pair of them, they really want to take everything right up to the limit. And really what that means is when you're pushing
From
what we can see, it doesn't look massive on TV pictures. It doesn't look massive on TV pictures. Pace does look good though.
So that's Hamilton asking about the floor. For me, the Norris Leclerc one is a bit more blame on Norris, I think, because he hit the curve on the inside and he was understeering. Leclerc had left him quite a bit of space, and I'm sure Norris is doing his best. Again, I'm not against racing incidents, but that one's probably a bit more on Norris, I think.
I think Norris went in hoping that the front end of his McLaren would do its best for him, but in reality, he probably should have seen that coming. When you're pinched to the inside like that, it's so hard to make the car turn in the same way. And it's the same. Verstappen, when he was being pinched to the inside of turn 2 by Hamilton, when you're going in at such
It's not great.
coming in from the opposite side of the track, you just can't expect to be able to hold the line in the same way.
Lap 11 of 71. That's Jack Aiken, the Williams reserve driver, alongside me, Jack Nicholls, and Jenny Gow in the Brazilian Grand Prix.
The incident involving Norris and Hamilton, involving Verstappen and Hamilton, is being investigated by the stewards.
Yep, as is the Norris-Leclerc one. So they're getting stuck into that. Lap 12 of 71 now. Russell's lead is 1.6 seconds over Sergio Perez in second place. And on that last lap, Carlos Sainz was 0.3 of a second slower. So not a huge difference between them. We're also seeing Vettel pretty close to the back of Lando Norris. So Norris is running in fourth, and Bottas has just got ahead of Stroll. But Norris, Vettel, and Hamilton are only separated by 1 second. And the McLaren is quick in a straight line. And I think it's allowing Vettel to have the DRS, which is allowing him to stay ahead of Hamilton. And if Hamilton can get back up into fourth place, then obviously a podium is still on the charge, on the cards.
I mean, for sure, Norris may be suffering a little bit of damage, but we haven't seen a huge amount of carbon missing from that car, so maybe not. But Vettel's pace does look good. The Aston Martin looks good because Stroll is up into P9, and he's making steady progress towards the back of Schumacher's Haas, and I think could be in for a good points result here.
Carlos Sainz on the radio saying, I think these tyres aren't great at the moment. Ferrari going with a gamble, starting on the medium tyre. He's currently in third place. Norris and Hamilton and Vettel trying to get him.
Hamilton taking a wide line into Junsao to then get on the power, coming out over the start, finish straight. He's going to get the DRS. Vettel, is he close enough? Yes, he is. So he's going to get DRS as well.
It's important to go long. We need to open that gap.
Hamilton's pretty close to the back of Vettel, but not close enough to send a lunge. Vettel goes in deep into turn one, but actually...
It's important to go long. We need to open that gap.
Into 11th position. That was Russell being told we need to extend the gap if we want to go long, but actually Perez was quicker on the last lap by 1/10 of a second, and there is 1.2 seconds now from Russell to Perez. So Perez is in a fight here. 5-second time penalty for Verstappen for causing a collision.
I'm surprised by that.
Yeah,
I have to say, because I think they both played a part in that, but yeah, I'd like to see that again. Here we've got a replay of Bottas, who's making his way past Stroll, is that? So Stroll losing 2 places in very quick succession there.
Yeah, so Ocon, and Ocon went around the outside of Stroll into the center S, so that was a good move. So Stroll's struggling a little bit while Vettel is doing well. Lando Norris has been given a 5-second time penalty for causing a collision. That one a little more fair, I think. I can see... I don't know, that's a legit move, but he did send it barreling in with a lot of speed. Here comes Hamilton now. This is close as he's been to Vettel, and he goes to the inside into turn one, and he gets ahead of the Aston Martin. So Lewis Hamilton up into fourth place now, fifth position. He's up behind Lando Norris, who has a 5-second time penalty, and he'll be trying to dispatch the McLaren before too long. On that last lap, the gap went up again between Russell and Perez, so it's going up, going down, and 1.5 seconds. Russell leading, Perez second, Sainz third, lap 14 of 71 in the Brazilian Grand Prix. Jenny Gow.
Yeah, just spoken to McLaren. They say they don't see any damage to Lando Norris's car after that incident with him and Charles Leclerc. He's cruising around at the moment in fourth, but Hamilton hunting him down.
Here's Verstappen's radio.
You've been given a 5-second time penalty for the collision at turn one.
And where did they expect me to go? He just closed the door on me, but doesn't matter.
Yeah, we'll move on.
I do.
You've been given a 5-second time penalty for the collision at turn one.
And where did they expect me to go? He just closed the door on me, but doesn't matter.
Yeah, we'll move on.
It's harsh to apportion blame 100% in the way that a penalty does. I think it was 60-40, 70-30 at best, you know. Hamilton now getting very close to the back of Norris.
Goes to the inside into turn one, and Hamilton's up into fourth place. So Hamilton charging back through the field. No damage on his Mercedes, it seems. Even the team saying that it doesn't look as though it's going too bad. Alonso's just lost a load of places. He's pitted. So Fernando Alonso into the pits then for the Alpine team on lap 15 of 71. But Russell's lead is now 1.7 seconds over Perez. Sainz in third is losing time to the leaders, but not terribly. 0.2 to Perez, 0.4 to Russell, and he's on the medium tyre. So don't discount Sainz here.
Alonso started on the mediums. He's already come in lap 15 to change onto another
Okay, Schumacher has lost DRS now. This is our chance to close.
medium when he took his pit stop. And just on Hamilton, this is deja vu of last year all over again, isn't it? It's incredible watching him plough through a field.
Yeah.
Literally and metaphorically.
Yeah, absolutely. We've just seen another replay of the Verstappen incident. He was, to me, he was well within his rights to go for it. Now, obviously, it doesn't mean that they're saying Verstappen is to blame, but predominantly to blame. Oh, that's just race. That's just racing.
I think it's very harsh because Verstappen, the thing that I was looking at that replay for was how far alongside was Verstappen, because if you're coming from as far back as the other car's rear axle, then that's what you would call a bit of a lunge, and then it's a bit more reasonable to say you really shouldn't be barreling in there with a load of speed. But he wasn't. He was pretty much alongside the halfway point of Hamilton's car, so well up the inside. And like we said, Hamilton squeezed him. He left him enough room, but Verstappen had to use the curb to avoid the collision on the entry, and that's what pushed him into Hamilton mid-corner.
It's almost identical, a different circuit and corner profile a bit, but it's kind of identical to Monza, where Verstappen went to the outside, got sort of all the way around the outside, then wasn't quite around the outside. Verstappen squeezed him onto the curb, and then they had contact.
I'm not arguing the point, but just to put you in the mindset, you know, Hamilton going into that corner would have been thinking, right, I'm ahead going into this corner. He's got a really, really tight angle to make this corner. If I just squeeze him, give him the absolute minimum space, he'll back out of this. Equally, Verstappen on the other side is thinking, well, I'm behind, but I'm still significantly alongside. I've got the inside line. He has to give me the space, and then I'll get a better run out of turn 2. And they're both thinking that at the same time, and the result is they meet in the middle, quite literally.
Yeah. Lap 17 of 71. Russell's lead goes up to 1.8 seconds now to Sergio Perez in second position. Again, Sainz was slower on that last lap, this time by 0.6 of a second. Vettel's attacking Norris. Sebastian Vettel up into 5th place in the Aston Martin. And he's got up ahead of Lando Norris. And Norris still has a 5-second time penalty, but that is a legitimate 5th place now for Sebastian Vettel. And no one really looks like they've got the pace in the rest of that midfield to challenge Vettel. So this could be 5th for the rest of the Grand Prix for the number 5 car. If he keeps this up, into the pits has come Zhou Guanyu in the Alfa Romeo. He goes onto a set of the medium tyres and then makes his way back out onto the circuit. But Russell's leading, 2 seconds ahead of Perez. Then it's 4.5 seconds to Sainz. Hamilton on that last lap, half a second quicker than Carlos Sainz. So he's starting to close in. Valtteri Bottas has been fighting with Mick Schumacher, a sort of late defense considering the closing speed that Bottas had. So that was a bit scary for a moment, but Bottas makes the move and he's now up into 8th position. Russell leads 2 seconds ahead of Perez in second place. Verstappen's down in 15th, by the way. So,
minor. How's the pace? Yeah, what do you think, mate? I'm just chilling here, aren't I? Fully chilling.
It's on the mediums. Is the first driver to pit. That's a real surprise.
I'm really confused by the medium at the moment, because all of the people that have pitted so far pretty much have been on the medium. So that to me says it's not working well, as they have to. There's a bit of a fire at the rear right brake of Sainz, and it's still smoking, but he's got going again, so it should be fine.
It was a very slow pit stop as well, 4.1 seconds for the Ferrari
that's
team.
On fire.
Yeah,
that's
it's a big fire on the right rear brake. We've seen a crazy fire earlier this year that got put out, and was it Stroll that managed to keep on running for the remainder of the race? Here comes Sainz down towards turn 4. Looks as though the air has extinguished it for the time being. Looks as though it's all right for Sainz.
Yeah, if he gets away with that, he's just going to have maybe a little.
It was a tear off stack
lines, which is never great, but that'll be a bit of a result. But it's still smoking now that he's into the technical section, using those. He's forced to use the brakes, and they're still very, very hot.
That car's going to feel horrible, isn't it? It's lap 18. He's come in. He didn't like the mediums. We heard him complaining on the radio. He's gone on to the softs. Here's his radio.
It was a tear off stack in the brake duct.
Oh, and is that why they had to pit him?
Yeah, must be.
Okay, so that means that Sainz forced into pitting, and as a result, and we saw, a mechanic went in, stuck his hand in and grabbed it out. So that was fair play.
Brave guy to put your hand into a flaming brake duct. Well done.
Russell is leading the Grand Prix, 2 seconds ahead of Sergio Perez in second spot, and then it is 7.6 seconds to Hamilton in third place. Fourth is Sebastian Vettel, fifth is Lando Norris, sixth is Pierre Gasly, seventh is Bottas, eighth is Ocon, ninth is Mick Schumacher. He's the first of the runners on the mediums. Carlos has pitted, and it doesn't look as though anyone will need to react to Sainz pitting, because I don't think they'll be too concerned about the undercut at this point. Even though Sainz is setting the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, he's not on an ideal strategy now.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how long these softs can go on for. They obviously had the safety car period as well, so that was about 6 laps behind the safety car, and that'll just be able to extend the stint out. I don't know if it'll be enough to extend it out to one stop. I think that would be really hard. The hard tyre has come off Albon, so anyone who wanted to get data from that decision can't now because that's gone. But no one's really done any real heavy fuel running on these soft tyres for any length of time. So let's see how far they go.
Gasly is pitting now from the middle of the pack, coming off those soft tyres, which is...
Tires are very good.
Tauri lowered down and off he goes.
Tires are very good. Let's go long. Let's go long.
And Russell saying, "Tires are very good. Let's go long. Let's go long."
How many times have you heard Russell taking control from the cockpit this year? It's one of the things that's impressed me the most about the Mercedes man. Bearing in mind this is his first year with the team. He calls strategy very confidently, whether it's right or wrong. He got it wrong, didn't he, in Canada when he tried to go slicks in the rain? But a lot of the time, he makes a call, and sometimes the team overrule him, and it's not the right call for the team to overrule him. I'm just impressed by that.
Get overruled in Mexico. But he was trying to go long in Mexico, wasn't he, as well?
Yeah. Then they put him on that nothing strategy.
Carlos Sainz is just getting ahead of Lance Stroll and now in a 9th place. So the Ferrari man making his way back through the order onto the brakes into Jun Sao.
Sebastian happy with the driving. The only thing to watch is your slips, exit of 4 on full throttle over the curb. Just watch those slips there, exit of 4.
And took another half a second out of Perez on that last lap. So Hamilton is closing in on the back of the Red Bull. Verstappen, meanwhile, on the medium tyre. Last lap, he's lapping about a second a lap slower than those up at the front. He is on the mediums, admittedly, and does a 17.3 this time around, so a little quicker, but still about half a second off what Sergio Perez is doing. So maybe just playing the long game here, Verstappen, and not pushing too hard in the early stages. Sonoda pits from 13th place, and he drops down the order. So lap 21 of 71. Russell leading, Perez second, Hamilton third, Vettel is in fourth in the Aston Martin, fifth is Lando Norris, and then you've got Bottas, Ocon, Schumacher, Sainz and Stroll, the rest of the top 10 at the moment.
Seeing a replay of Sainz's move to get past the Aston Martin of Stroll there, and he's very close in the same spot to with Schumacher, and he's done exactly the same move pretty much, just slipping up the inside of the right-hander. I forget the turn number, but it's a place where it's easy to just cut a bit of distance by staying to the inside as you come out of the previous corner, and you can catch drivers by surprise, and Schumacher not offering much of a defence there.
10, I think, at Pico de Pato.
Thank you, Jack.
And Sainz then out across the line, 3.3 seconds back from Esteban Ocon. Now Sainz is 27 seconds off the race lead at the moment, Carlos Sainz. So, but he's on the soft tyres, so we'll see what strategy he's going to be getting up to. Leclerc is going to pit again, this time for a regular pit stop. So he's coming off again fairly early, considering he had to pit for a new front wing earlier on.
He's done 14 laps on those tyres, which is nothing really. He's gone on to a new set of the soft tyres. Decent pit stop, 2.2 seconds. But that's a short stint on those mediums. There is a trail of thought that you want to get those mediums done and dusted and then maybe have 2 pits to come in for the soft tyres. He'd be on scrub softs, but that's an interesting move.
I mean, I guess they've got to do something different, considering they were down in 16th position, I think, when Leclerc came into the pit lane. Lap 23 of 71. Russell's lead over Perez now up to 3.2 seconds. So he's really starting to pick the speed up, Russell. And Hamilton took another 4 tenths out on that last lap. So Hamilton to Perez is down to 6.3 seconds between those two. So he's still not in undercut range. That'll be the target, I would have thought. Standing in here is Verstappen trying to close in on Alex Albon to get him into 11th position as he comes over the start-finish straight and in towards the downhill chicane at the center S.
Lando, how are the tyres? Yeah, it's just, I don't know, going away slowly.
If there is any damage from that incident with Verstappen, it's clearly not doing him much harm at the moment. And Verstappen, by contrast, he looks like he is struggling a bit. I wonder if there is some lasting impact, even with the front wing change. He's just not as quick as the front runners at the moment.
Are we on a 2 or a 3? Important to know.
At the moment we are on a 2. Deg is looking better than expected.
So Sainz asking am I on a 2-stopper or a 3-stopper because he had to come into the pits so early. Into the pits now comes Sergio Perez from 2nd place in the Red Bull, and that is onto a new set of medium tyres. I don't think we will see Russell pit to cover, but we'll have to wait and see. It's a 2-second pit stop from Red Bull. That was absolutely rapid.
Are we on a 2 or a 3? Important to know.
At the moment we are on a 2. Deg is looking better than
safe option.
Verstappen's going to be coming into the pits, but Hamilton was 6 seconds back, so I don't know if it's worth responding, because then he'll just come out in the same place. He might as well try and extend as well and get a tyre delta, and Perez has come out in some horrible traffic.
He's got not one but 2 cars in front of him. He's got Bottas directly in front of him, and he's not been able to get past him to the fast turn 6 right-hander, so he's now going to have to sit behind him for the whole 2nd sector and probably the 3rd as well before he can get past that car. And then he's got Lando to get past as well.
Goes to the outside, coming through Pinarino, and then goes to the inside of Pico de Pato. Russell is going to pit then. Oh, and Perez and Bottas are so close together. Bottas hanging it around the outside, and then Perez going around the outside at Mergulio and makes it stick. So Perez does get ahead, but his middle sector on that last lap was 2 seconds slower than the fastest middle sector we've seen in the session so far. Pitted, a 3-second pit stop for Mercedes, and Perez is now coming down towards turn 1, and it looks as though will comfortably maintain ahead of Perez. I guess there was no point in them extending because they could just cover Perez off quite comfortably. Is Vettel going to get ahead of Russell here? They're side by side coming down towards turn 4, but Russell holds the place ahead of Vettel. Vettel yet to pit, so Hamilton leads, has yet to stop. 2nd has made a pit stop. Vettel in 3rd is yet to stop. Perez in 4th has made a pit stop.
Just having a look at Verstappen, I think he had a slow pit stop there. He came in, his pit stop time was 10.7 seconds. Now he had the 5-second penalty, but that still means that it looked like it was a long pit stop. I couldn't actually see it myself, but I reckon that's a 5-second pit stop then when they were looking for about 2.
Yeah, we're just going to get a replay of it, I think.
Okay, Lance, big picture, the medium is struggling, so we need to focus on the end of the race.
That having a 5-second delay before you start working on the car would make it easier to have a fast pit stop because the car's stationary and it's there, as opposed to barreling in at full speed. It's not. It throws the mechanics off a little bit. They do practice this kind of thing, but it's still not the same movement that they're used to, and so much of the pit stop is choreographed muscle memory, and yeah, it's quite common to see mistakes with that 5-second penalty.
So lap 20 of 71, Lewis Hamilton leads the way in Brazil. Cheers for him as he comes into Descida do Lago, but he hasn't yet made his pit stop, whereas his teammate George Russell has. And the fight now really is going to be Hamilton versus Perez for 2nd place. I think that's what we're sort of brewing up to at the moment. Alex Albon pits in the Williams. Hamilton's Perez is closing in on the back of Vettel now. The gap between Russell and Perez was about 4 seconds when they came out of the pit.
Okay, mate, so the situation is most people have stopped now except for Hamilton, Vettel and Stroll.
Left Verstappen more room for sure, but as it was, that was where the contact occurred.
The main damage seems to be that he's lost his hubcap, for one of a better word. They're not hubcaps, they're very advanced aerodynamic devices, but the wheel covers that cover the spokes of the wheels to improve cooling, improve airflow, and it's just popped one off of the front right wheel from Hamilton's car, but it looks like that's pretty much the only damage that he's got. Definitely got away with that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Lap 27 of 71. Here comes Perez on the back of Sebastian Vettel, who pits. So Vettel pits then from what was third position briefly. And Perez gets back through. Into the pit lane comes Vettel. A nice, tidy pit stop here. And Aston Martin could be on for a good haul of points. Into the pits he comes. Up onto the jacks. A set of used mediums going on. It's a bit slow, but it's all right in the end for Vettel. 3.3 seconds. And he makes his way back onto the circuit. He's going to come out behind the Alpine of Alonso, who has made a pit stop, hasn't he?
Yep, he has made a pit stop. He came in to go onto those mediums. In fact, around that 15, he went medium to medium. Just a quick note, looking at who's doing what at the moment, and it looks like the tyres are maybe holding on a little bit longer for the Mercedes than they were expecting them to be. The track temperature a little bit warmer. We're currently at 44 degrees now. Temperature going downwards, but there's some interesting stuff going on. And the Williams, I'm not quite sure what they're up to. They've already been in for Albon twice. They went hard to medium at lap 5, and now they've gone on to medium at lap 26. They only got 21 laps out of those medium tyres. Really interesting. It's a huge variation up and down the field.
Yeah, absolutely. We are now, they've pretty much done the sprint race distance now, haven't they?
Okay, Bottas has got DRS, 8 tenths behind. You have a
view distance that they managed to do on the soft tyre. Russell is 4 seconds ahead of Sergio Perez. Meanwhile, Bottas is right on the back of Pierre Gasly. They're fighting over 7th place, and I think this is a legitimate fight, isn't it? They both made a pit stop. Bottas has got the inside, coming into the CNRS, and is able to breeze ahead. Sebastian Vettel is lurking behind them on fresher tyres, but he's kind of been... Has he been undercut by them here, Sebastian Vettel? He has a bit, because I don't quite know how. It wasn't a great pit stop.
I mean, Seb was one of the last guys to pit from the soft. I mean, his teammate Scholl is on the medium and still out there, and Lewis, of course, on the lead is also still out there. But Lewis is losing chunks of time now. You know, nearly a second a lap to his competitors.
Quite dark out here, is there rain?
Yeah, copy that, Lewis. Nothing on the radar at the moment.
Quite dark out here, is there rain coming?
Yeah, copy that, Lewis. Nothing on the radar at the moment.
Stopped, came onto the mediums 2 laps before, and has got ahead of Sebastian Vettel. So it was looking so comfortable for Vettel. So it must have been a very powerful undercut. And Vettel's come out in traffic and everything, but not quite sure where all that time went for Sebastian Vettel, because he was nowhere near Bottas.
Yeah, I mean, he looks like he's got the pace. He's already on the pace, and he's going to get this move done into turn 1. DRS will get him easily past as he toes up to the back of him, and Gasly doesn't even bother defending. He knows it's inevitable. So it looks like he's got the pace to make his way back up the field. But yeah, Aston Martin possibly making his job just that little bit harder than it needed to be. And he did, of course, it wasn't a blisteringly fast pit stop as well, only 3.3 seconds for Vettel.
So a bit of time there. And there's a lunge from Leclerc going past Yuki Tsunoda into...
The fronts are going so quickly.
Hamilton leading the Grand Prix. Russell is second, 7 seconds back from Hamilton. It's still 4 seconds from Russell to Perez, well, 4.4 to be precise. And Sainz is only 2.5 seconds back now from Sergio Perez, but he's on a very different strategy at the moment. Hamilton is going to be coming in now from the race lead. Into the pits he comes, and this will drop him out back into 4th position. New medium tyres going on. All right, pit stop, 3.3 seconds again, so not super, but Russell leading, Perez back up into 2nd, Sainz back up into 3rd, and Hamilton now is in 4th position. And again, that extending is interesting because it feels like you lose quite a lot of time by going longer, because the undercut seems really powerful at the moment.
Unless they're going for a 1-stop, dare I say it.
You can't say that, surely. A medium tyre for 41 laps?
I know.
No, it's not possible.
He's just taken this off for 30 laps.
And we're almost at half race distance.
He'd need a safety car or something, surely, to make that.
Yeah,
work.
No, I tend to agree. It does seem like a big ask. People haven't seemed very happy on that medium so far, so I don't know.
I like your ambition.
The track temperature is dropping, so things are working in his favour. Maybe.
George Russell leading the Brazilian Grand Prix and looking fairly comfortable at the moment, potentially on his way to his first Formula One victory. Sergio Perez is in second place, 4.5 seconds back from Russell. Then it's Carlos Sainz in third on soft tyres that are 12 laps old. So Sainz is so far out of sequence here. He's going to have to go back onto another set of mediums. Well, maybe he can do another set of softs to get to the end of the Grand Prix, but that would be a tough ask. Verstappen, after his collision with Hamilton earlier on, is making his way back up the order and has just dispatched Alex Albon and got up into 16th place. And Russell, it is though, leading the way with Perez in second and Carlos Sainz in third. Hamilton in fourth. Now, what's this first lap going to be for Hamilton compared to the rest of the field? He's on the medium tyre. Can he now start to close in on Carlos Sainz? I can't quite work, because Sainz is on such a sort of strategy offset here that I can't quite work out what's going to happen for him.
I think you could take that soft a bit longer because the track's rubbering up. It's getting a little bit faster and allowing the tyres to last a little bit longer. So you can probably get another 10, 15, maybe even 20 laps out of it if he really tries. And that would bring him into the territory where, yeah, you could run just another soft until the end, which would be ideal. But this was all forced, wasn't it, because of that tear-off in his brake duct? This wasn't the intention for Ferrari.
Absolutely. Nor was it the intention for Leclerc to be down in 13th position, having been hit off at Ferrari on the safety car restart by Lando Norris. So we're approaching half-race distance. Hamilton does set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, which is 1.4 seconds quicker than Carlos Sainz in front and 1.3 seconds quicker than Sergio Perez ahead of him, and his tyres are 6 laps fresher than Sergio Perez is. So, yeah, I think Hamilton versus Perez for second place is going to be the squabble. Vettel can't make up much progress here on Valtteri Bottas, so it's not worked out today for Aston Martin so far. Again, we're only at a half-race distance, and maybe he'll have fresher tyres in the final stint of the Grand Prix. Verstappen is still running in 16th place, 1.2 seconds back from Lance Stroll, who's just having a bad race, honestly, because he's down in 15th position, and I can't think of anything that's gone drastically wrong for Stroll. He was just kind of slipping down the order in the early stages, and the pace.
Lando, 3 questions. How's the pace? How are the tyres? And you soft versus medium?
Yeah, pace 3. I don't know, tires are okay. I feel already at thermal limit.
But he's holding steady. His lap times look good relative to Bottas and Vettel behind him. Ocon is also up into 8, so a disastrous day yesterday. Alpine are comfortably outscoring the McLaren of Norris now.
Just having a look at the Constructors' Championship, by the way, because there's still quite a lot up at grabs in George Russell's radio.
Let us know how this tire is feeling.
Feeling good, says Russell.
Gap between Alpine and McLaren would go up to 18 points in the battle for 4th place. Between Mercedes and Ferrari, it will come down to just 13 points, with Mercedes closing in on the Scuderia.
Remarkable stuff. Here comes Stroll to the inside of...
Let us know how this tire is feeling.
On the back of them, well, now he's on the back of them already, running in 16th place at the moment, Max, after colliding with Lewis Hamilton at the safety car restart. Russell leading, Perez second, Sainz in third, Hamilton fourth with fresher tyres, Alonso fifth with older tyres, 6th is Bottas, 7th is Vettel, 8th is Ocon, 9th is Gasly, 10th is Lando Norris. Outside the points paying positions, it's Joe, Schumacher, Leclerc after he got hit by Lando Norris earlier on, Stroll and Tsunoda the top 15, Verstappen, Albon and Latifi, the 18 drivers still running, Ricciardo and Magnussen out of the Grand Prix on the opening lap. Jenny Gao.
Yeah, just having a look at tyre life. Fernando Alonso's tyres are 18 laps old. They're on the medium tyres, and Carlos Sainz, as you said, on the soft, and his are also around 18 laps old. So both of those, I feel like they're out of sequence with the rest of the field. So whilst it's good for Alonso and Alpine to currently be P5 and helps them out, I can't see him staying there for too much longer.
I don't know, because they could all just have one more stop to make, couldn't they? And okay, Alonso's will come first, but we saw how strong the undercut was before, although Alonso actually has to go onto a different tyre, doesn't he? That's the problem. Verstappen going past Yuki Tsunoda and getting up into 15th position. as they get onto the break. Maybe a few spots of rain on the camera lens there on the helicopter, maybe, but also maybe not. That 34 of 71. Verstappen now up into 15th place. His next target is going to be Lance Stroll. Leclerc's stuck behind Mick Schumacher, just can't get ahead of him. There's only 0.3 seconds between them. On that last lap, Leclerc was much quicker than Schumacher. So to be fair, he's only just caught the back of him, but hasn't been able to make the pass yet.
They're both struggling to make their way up through the field, aren't they? And I mean, it's more surprising for Verstappen, like we said earlier, probably carrying some damage from that early accident. But in previous races this year,
thinking of target plus 10, if you can make that.
I think I can make it, but with a slower pace. I think we should stick to plan. We are good, we are competitive.
Yeah, copy.
But as you wish, I mean, you have more info than me.
Yeah, copy that.
DRS will pop open for Leclerc, and I don't think Schumacher's got it. He's too far back from Joe. He's got a bit of a slipstream from Joe, but this is the move from Leclerc to the inside into turn 1. Down through the gears, and Leclerc gets up into 12th place. Joe is his next target. The gap between Hamilton and Sainz is down to less than 3 seconds, and Sainz is only 3.5 seconds back from Sergio Perez still, but Sainz is out of sequence compared to everybody else.
Just to give you a quick update, there's been an incident in the pit lane involving one of the Alfa Romeo mechanics who may be deemed to have been in an unsafe position in the way of Mick Schumacher coming in the Haas. So the incident's been noted and it will be investigated after the race.
So we are past half race distance now as George Russell starts another lap, and he does a 16.2 on that last lap. Perez did the same. Sainz was a 10th slower. Hamilton was 0.6 quicker. So he's really going quickly here, Lewis Hamilton. Alonso's in again. So what tyre is Fernando Alonso going to go on to here? Is it a set of hards to then get to the end of the Grand Prix? Into the pits now comes the Gasly Alfa Romeo. It's another set of mediums, and the left rear is slow to come off. So and it's a bit of a stall. No, he had to wait. He had to wait for an incoming car. So that's cost him a lot of time. Gasly coming into the pits. Alonso couldn't get away in time. And now it was a slow pit stop, and they've booked themselves in for a 3-stopper.
Yeah, they've used the medium, so they're going to have to come back in at some point and use the softs.
Interesting choice there for Alpine, because they chose to come in early, didn't they, and do that earlier offset, unless he had some problem that we don't know about.
Spoke to the team, they said there was no problem, it was strategy. Whether that's the truth or not, I don't know, but that's what they told me.
Into the pits comes Carlos Sainz from 3rd position, so he is going to change from the soft tyre, presumably onto the mediums, and then try to run to the end of the Grand Prix. Indeed, the mediums are waiting as he gets fairly steadily into his pit box there, heads away again, and the pit stop itself was fairly swift from Ferrari as Sainz makes his way down to the pit lane exit, but he now is on a set of medium tyres that he's going to bring to the end of the Grand Prix. Out through the pit lane exit, he's not going to come out in any traffic, and Hamilton on that last lap was 0.7 quicker than Sergio Perez in 2nd place. So Hamilton still closing that gap down to Perez. It's now closer between Perez and Hamilton than it is between Perez and Russell in the lead.
I'm just going to put this out there. I'm not convinced he's going to get to the end of this race on those tyres. I think he may come back in and go onto the softs towards the end of this, get a little bit racy. I don't think these tyres are lasting well enough to be able to do that well.
Stroll did 29 laps on his medium tyres. Hamilton did 29 laps on his soft tyres. Okay, knock a few off because of the safety car, so call it 25. So I think surely just over 30 on the mediums is...
Let's
I
see.
mean, that's got to be the target, hasn't it? And Sainz said, he was told earlier on, we're aiming for a 2-stopper, so...
And he questioned whether it would be 3.
Well, no, but he said, are we aiming for 2 or 3? Big lock up from Joe as he comes into Pico de Pato. He's under pressure from Mick Schumacher for the final points-paying position. Tyre-wise, there's quite a big offset. Joe's on 20.
Okay, mate, sorry for that. Still in a good position.
Yeah, don't worry. We make the time now.
Sergio Perez is moving on to plan B, whatever that is, and Joe comes into the pit lane now on the medium tyres. They don't disagree. It's going to be a a big one for Sainz to try and pull off.
We're now on board with Alonso, who's making a fairly easy pass on the AlphaTauri of Tsunoda and making steady progress. He was pretty quick on that first lap out on his fresh mediums. They do seem to work very well straight out the box, the medium. There's no issue with warm-up because Sainz equally was pretty quick out the box as well. But yeah, it's just hard to get a handle of the strategy in this race. It seems like the soft and the medium are quite well matched in terms of, you know, the length of a stint that you can get out of them. Nobody wants to touch the hard tyre, so it's all a bit peculiar.
Russell in the lead of the Grand Prix just did a personal best on his 14th lap on those medium tyres. He's now 7 seconds ahead of Perez. Perez, he was 0.6 quicker than on the last lap, and Hamilton was 0.8 quicker than Perez on the last lap. So Mercedes really having a strong run on these medium tyres, considering that Russell and Perez have the same aged tyres on. Perez is really starting to struggle, and Hamilton is just 3.7 seconds back now. It was 5 seconds before. Hamilton's going to be running longer, and I think this is turning into a race that has Hamilton in with a real shot of second position.
Could I ask a question of our driver, please? When it comes to George Russell, he's leading this race. We're on lap 39, it's ticking into. He's got that grace period between him and Perez. Is he able to contemplate just how significant this could be? I don't want to jinx it or put commentators' curse on it, but what's he thinking in that car? Concentrating on the race, Sainz?
We undercut Perez. We undercut Perez.
Not yet. We are side by side. Speed exit. It is pitting now.
They think they're going to undercut Perez on the medium tyre. He's sort of showing no signs of pitting just yet, and his pace is, I mean, it's not great, but it's about the same as it always has been. And the gap, though, is down to 21 seconds, so which is the sort of average time lost. So they're right there. So Perez surely now has got to extend a little bit, to be honest, and accept he's lost track position to Sainz, and Hamilton is involved in that fight as well. So all three of them are in that squabble for second place. But do please answer the question, Jack.
Yeah, so what's George thinking in that car? Well, I think we're still it's still early enough in the race that you're going to be wrapped up in the strategy, the tyre management, just making sure that you're on top of absolutely everything. There's Sainz again.
And we have undercut him now.
That's Sainz being
And we have undercut him now.
in net second position, but if Perez does it later, then he'll have fresher tyres. So we're in for a great end of the Grand Prix. But do answer the question, Jack.
Yeah, and I'm just saying that basically he'll still be wrapped up in the race itself. You know, there's plenty going on. He's got enough on his plate to be focused on, and I'm sure that he will be 100% on it in that car, just making sure he can extend that gap to Perez and make sure that everything is hunky-dory. When we get past 5 laps or so, that's probably when the thoughts start to creep in. And yeah, it is going to be a significant one because it's his first Grand Prix win, potentially. It's the first win for Mercedes this year, which they so desperately want. And it's going to come from the young upstart teammate, not the 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton. And that's significant as well. So, you know, it'd be hard for him not to think about that.
Tom is tweeting a lot on hashtag BBC F1 saying, you really think Russell will be allowed to win the Grand Prix?
Nah, they'll pull him back, won't they? No, of course he's going to let them win. It's, as we spoke about this yesterday, didn't we, in the Checker Flag podcast, that there are no team orders in Mercedes as far as having a number one driver or not. And certainly after the first lap, once the positions are set, Toto was pretty clear that they're going to give the favourable strategy, support the driver that is in the best position to win, which is the leading driver, which is George Russell. Clearly.
Yeah, completely agree. Lap 42 of 71. Russell's lead is now 8 seconds over Sergio Perez. Perez was a bit quicker on, actually Russell was a bit slower on that last lap, which meant that the gap didn't extend by quite as much. Hamilton took another half second out, so he's just 2 seconds back now from Sergio Perez. Hamilton. Red Bull are getting to the point where they've got to do something. Here's Russell's radio.
George, we're thinking soft for the last stint. Let us know if you prefer medium. George, we're thinking soft for the last stint. Let us know if you prefer medium.
Fight anymore for the win, I would suggest. Hamilton is just 1.7 seconds back and is going to be extending. Sainz will be ahead of him if he pits now due to having done the undercut. And that again suggested to me that they want to go to the end on these tyres, Ferrari, if they're talking about having undercut Perez. So he's ending up getting a little bit lost here, I think, Perez in this race.
Yeah, he's just not quite had the pace, has he? He's been hanging on to the Mercedes, but just gradually, lap by lap, losing a little bit more, a 10th here, a 10th there, and he's drifting further and further away from that win. So yeah, it's tough for him. You know, the car is clearly strong enough to be in contention, but once again, Red Bull not having the best day.
Hamilton takes another chunk out, and the gap's down to just 1.3 seconds at the line, lap 40.
We are losing time, guys. If I don't overtake this lap, let's do something.
Understood.
Leclerc saying we're losing time, stuck behind Lando Norris, who's running in 8th place, and he's saying if I don't get him this time, let's do something different. He's on 20-lap-old softs. Norris is on 17-lap-old mediums. Hamilton is flying though as he comes up through Ferradura, and then into the tight left-hander of turn 8. Dropping down left at Pinarino, and Leclerc goes to the outside of Norris. That's a full send to the outside, and he's pulled it off. Very nice move that from Charles Leclerc. Knew he needed to get the job done, and he has got the job done. Leclerc up into 8th position now. He's about 6 seconds back from Esteban Ocon ahead. Here's Sainz's radio.
I think our race is with Checo now.
Yeah, we are looking to come back on Checo at the end of the race.
So Sainz is being told we're looking to come back on Checo.
Yeah, let's think back going to Strat 8 now. Readiness for the open.
Difficult to read too much into it, isn't it? Because they wanted 2 stops earlier on, but the phrasing of Ferrari, English isn't their sort of first language, and so we sort of had that earlier. But anyway, here is Hamilton on the back of Perez. He's right in the slipstream of the Red Bull driver. He's got a great run through turns 1 and 2. Perez defends. Hamilton to the outside. Perez holds the inside line into Desida del Lago at turn 4. Holds the position. Hamilton tries to get the drive out, coming up towards Ferradura. Perez covers the inside, then switches to the outside and turns into the right-hander. But Hamilton, if he can stay close enough, coming out of Junsao, will have a real opportunity because he's got quite a big tyre advantage here. 6 laps fresher are his medium tyres compared to the Red Bull ahead. And he might even go for it into Vigo de Pato here. No, not quite.
I think we're all looking forward to another episode of Checo versus Hamilton, with Checo playing the role of defender. He's just so good at it. He knows where to place his car. And Hamilton now coming into Junsao, the last corner, he's really taking it easy, making sure he's taking a different line, an offset line to Perez to get the maximum downforce from his car, get clean air, and he's well within attacking range here.
This is a really good run for Hamilton. Sergio Perez in second place in the Red Bull isn't going to have much answer here. Hamilton to the outside, Perez to the inside. We've seen Perez laid on the brakes before. No chance this time. Hamilton up into second. It's a Mercedes 1-2 at the moment, but let's not discount Carlos Sainz, who's in there in 4th place at the moment. Hamilton and Perez are still going to have to pit again. And how will the rest of this Grand Prix unfold? Lap 45 of 71. Russell is in the lead, 10 seconds ahead of Lewis Hamilton, who's now up into second place.
Lewis Hamilton made an honorary citizen of Brazil, and the fans absolutely loving seeing him do that overtake for second place. Still got a lot of pit stops to go, and one of them about to happen at Ferrari.
Charles Leclerc into the pits, having just got ahead of Lando Norris. They've now decided that it's the time to pit him. In he comes, and he's coming off the soft tyres, onto the soft tyres, off the it's just softs all round, off the softs, onto the softs, and back out onto the circuit, and he's dropping down a couple more places. He was out of the Grand Prix on the opening laps after a collision with Lando Norris, who Verstappen is now behind in the fight over 8th position. Lando Norris, lap 46 of 71. So Hamilton in second place. It is Russell in the lead, Hamilton 10 seconds back in second, 1.5 seconds to Perez in third, 11 seconds back to Carlos Sainz in 4th. So Russell would keep the lead ahead of Sainz if he pitted, but everyone else, if they pit soonish, would emerge behind Carlos Sainz, but they'd be on fresher tyres.
I mean, the question now really is, how do Mercedes lose this race? Because they're quicker than Perez, they're quicker than Sainz. Verstappen and Leclerc are still way back, and they're not going to get there in time. It's going to have to be some oddity with a safety car and really poor timing, but they're on the same strategy as well as Perez, so it's looking really good for them.
Into the pits comes Lando Norris. Also into the pits has come Bottas and Vettel. So Vettel still wasn't able to get ahead of Valtteri Bottas. What's Alonso up to in all of this? He's in 9th place and he's going back ahead of Bottas and Vettel. He pitted quite a lot. He pitted 9 laps ago, Fernando Alonso, and he's got back ahead then of those two that he was squabbling with. Ocon at the moment is in 5th place, but he's only made 1 pit stop so far in the Grand Prix. Jenny?
Just a reminder, Alonso does have to come in. He does have to pit again. He's only used the medium tyres. Yeah. You must use 2 compounds during a race, so he's forced into doing another pit stop.
Yeah, curious one that from Alpine to sort of not give themselves the flexibility to stay out there if they could.
Yeah, they clearly just feel that the hard is not an option at this stage, and it seems like all of the teams are agreeing on that, and that, well, they felt whether they used the medium or the soft, they weren't going to make it to the end on either, so they may as well just go with the medium again and finish the race strong with a good set of softs.
George Russell is leading this race, 10 seconds ahead of Lewis Hamilton in 2nd position. On that last lap, both Mercedes did a 1 minute 16.0, so identical lap times, and it was a second quicker than the Sergio Perez lap time. Zhou is getting out the way there of George Russell, the race leader, while he was in a bit of a fight with Alex Albon, who had a lockup coming into Vigo de Pato. But Russell is 23 seconds ahead of Carlos Sainz now. On that last lap, Sainz was quicker by 0.2 of a second. Now, we did hear on the radio Sainz saying our fight is for 2nd place, basically. He said with Checo, i.e. Sergio Perez, but I presume he means 2nd position. Perez into the pits as they come around the final couple of corners. It's the medium tyres coming out and ready for Sergio Perez, who's struggling on those mediums that he's already on, but he is going on to another set of mediums for the final stint of the Grand Prix. On they go, away he goes, and rejoins the track.
I find that really interesting. Yesterday, after the sprint race, it was all this talk about which was better, the mediums or the softs, and Red Bull had maybe played a strategy blinder because they'd kept 2 pairs of the soft tyres, the new tyres that they could utilise in this race. It seems like the medium is actually the tyre that everyone wants to be on so much. Alonso's done 3 stints on medium tyres and nothing else. So maybe what they would turn into a strategy advantage actually hasn't come to them at all.
Well, Perez did did Perez have the extra set as well then? Because I thought it was just
I'm trying to hold them up as much as I can.
You did a good job at that extra set. Leclerc is going past Gasly, and he's now up into 11th place. 10th place now because Ocon's just coming out of the pit lane. It's going to be pretty close between the two of them. One of the Mercedes is coming in. I think it's going to be Hamilton here. Lewis Hamilton into the pits from 2nd position now that Perez has pitted, so they're covering off the potential undercut, and Sainz meanwhile has come out ahead of Perez. Here's Hamilton's radio.
So box, lap adjust.
My tyres are good, my tyres are good.
No, box.
Hamilton wanting to stay out there, but the team saying, no, you got to come into the pits. And is he going to come out behind Carlos Sainz? I think he is, as they come down in towards turn 1. Yeah, so Sainz is ahead of Hamilton. As he comes out of turn 3, Sainz is ahead of Hamilton. So Sainz is up into 2nd place. Hamilton is up into is coming out in 3rd position with Perez in 4th. The undercuts.
So box, gives a lap adjust.
My tyres are good, my tyres are good.
No, box.
So now the question is going to be, in the remaining 23 laps, can Hamilton on the softs close in and pass Carlos Sainz on the mediums? I think that's the big question.
Yeah, well, Hamilton there was complaining because he felt like he was in a good position still, but the reality is they've got so much more information on the pit wall as they bring Russell in as well, just 1 lap later, and he will be going on to a set of the softs. So both Mercedes going to finish on the softs, and the team know how powerful that undercut is. They can see it happening in front of them, and Hamilton can't necessarily, so that's why they overruled him.
So Russell emerging still in the lead of the Grand Prix as he comes down the hill through the left-hander. Carlos Sainz is not far away from him. Carlos Sainz. Sainz is very close, actually.
Why? What the hell?
He's protecting against the undercut, and the softer tyre is faster.
Sainz is only a second behind Russell after all of that. As Russell comes out of the pits, now he's going to be on a way newer soft tyre, and Sainz has been on these mediums for 13 laps, so Sainz isn't going to be on the attack. But almost lost a bit of track position there, Mercedes, but Russell has held the lead. So he is now a second ahead of Carlos Sainz, whose tyres are 13 laps old. 6 seconds ahead of Hamilton, whose tyres are, well, they're 7 laps old in total, but he's just gone onto them. Perez is 4th, 3.8 seconds back from Hamilton. Alonso is 5th, but he has to stop again. Bottas is running in 6th place. He doesn't have to stop again, nor does Vettel in 7th or Leclerc in 8th, Ocon in 9th, and Pierre Gasly completing the top 10, lap 50 of 71.
Jumping on board with Leclerc now, who's staring at the back of Vettel's Aston Martin. So Vettel's still up there, well into the points-paying positions, and Leclerc slowly making his way through those positions. Just, you know, him and Verstappen have now finally started to get into those top 10 positions, and he's looking like he's all over the back of him. Will he be able to get it done before they head up the hill towards the start-finish line again? He's not looking like he wants to make that risk. He knows it'll be an easy pass if he gets to the DRS of the start-finish straight. He's just going to set himself up well through the last corner of Unisow here, and it'll be an easy pass for him.
Out over the start-finish straight they come. Vettel running in that 7th position at the moment. The DRS will open for Leclerc, and he gets in the slipstream with the DRS, and Vettel doesn't cover the inside, allows Leclerc to look to the inside, and the Ferrari gets the job done on the brakes. So he is up into 7th place. George Russell leading with 21 laps to go in the Brazilian Grand Prix. He's 3 seconds.
I'm still looking at target plus 5 at the moment. You're also doing the same lap times than Norris on fresh salt, so nice work.
Yes, we keep pushing, mate.
Towards the end of it, but at the moment, it's Hamilton going fastest.
Well, Russell just set the fastest lap of the race as he came across the line that time, about 1 second ago.
Do you want me to say the same thing and then say I think someone else will take it from Russell before the end of this race? Because I do. Alonso, clearly.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Alonso's going to end up in the top 10 though. But I'm not sure who's got the gap actually to take the fastest lap of the race.
Hamilton is just eating into that gap of Sainz. I don't think he has any reason to worry, does he? Despite his remonstrations over the radio, he's brought that down from a 6-second gap from when he came out of the box to it's now under 4 seconds. It's 3.8 and dropping before our very eyes as we watch the live tracker. So he'll be on Sainz pretty sharpish.
So Norris looks like he's pulled over.
Yeah.
Here's his radio.
I've lost power.
He's lost power, and that's in full safety car position. On the inside of Bica de... No, it's on the inside. Yeah, it is on the inside of Bica de Pato. And that is kind of full safety car location. Ferrari already in the pit lane. Russell stays out. What's Carlos Sainz going to do? Is he going to pit now? No. Because the safety car is not deployed just yet. And Leclerc is coming into the final couple of corners now. The reason I say it's in a safety car position is because the car's on track itself. And so virtual safety car doesn't quite seem appropriate. But we'll have to wait and see as Norris is climbing. See, Norris is climbing out of the car on a live racetrack. So I'm very surprised that the race director has not called anything just yet. And virtual safety car now.
I was about to say that seems like the right thing to do here, and that's what they're calling. Now, Sainz here could potentially make use of this. I mean, it's only a small gap that he's got to Hamilton behind, but if he's in the right position on track, Jenny Gal?
Yeah, Sainz and Alonso, I think, will both come into pit. Yet they've got a new set of the soft tyres ready for Fernando Alonso. Roughly 11 seconds is the pit loss under a virtual safety car. So Alonso comes in, they steady the ship. A little slow on the front left, but he's out again. That was a decent 2.7 second pit stop for Alonso.
So let's say where he emerges, Sainz has been told to pit as well. He's just coming around Magulio now, so one more corner to go for Carlos Sainz. And where will this bring him out? I think he'll still come out in 4th behind Hamilton and Perez, but with some fresher tyres to go on the attack with. Not dramatically fresher. Perez's tyres are only 5 laps old. Hamilton's are only 10 laps old. But into the pits now from second place comes Carlos Sainz while the virtual safety car is deployed.
He's not going to have a new set of the softs, but it's still going to be a big upgrade on what he's got. And they've just cut down the time of that pit stop that they were going to have to make anyway drastically. So it's brought him back a little bit into this. But, you know, does he have the pace, the raw effectively to deal with Hamilton and Perez? We'll see. It's going to be interesting to see how he reacts. And Alonso and Alpine have just been handed an absolute gift there, because he had to make another stop, as we've said, and he's managed to get a brand new set of the softs, which is just what you want for the end of the race. He's still in the points in 9th.
That's an absolute lifeline. And to make it even worse, it's the McLaren that's caused it. And they're fighting McLaren in the championship and the constructors for millions of dollars worth. So that's going to be really painful for McLaren. Both cars out of this race.
Oh, and that was a pretty definitive loss of power as he went into turn 10 for Lando Norris. He was able to get down the gears, but just no response at all from the engine. And yeah, it looks pretty terminal. So big swing of points in that constructors battle there.
So the McLaren is getting pushed away. So Sainz has emerged in 4th position. Won't be able to give you the gaps yet, because the gaps go up behind the virtual safety car because you're running at a slower speed. So it won't be till they get up to racing speed we'll exactly know how far behind Sainz is.
Lando Norris been feeling awful all weekend. He had food poisoning, missed the Thursday media day. Now he's just sitting on some hubcap that's lying on the side of the Brazilian Grand Prix full safety car, on the side of the Grand Prix course. And this is his birthday. Happy 23rd birthday.
Well, this changes things a lot. Full safety car changes things quite a lot. And it did feel like it was a full safety car kind of scenario with the car and the marshals on the circuit, but they went virtual safety car. Now they've turned it into a full safety car, which is not unusual. You quite often get that in endurance racing and stuff, where you get an instant, but there you get an instant virtual safety car, and then it goes into a safety car. But there we go.
How racy does Hamilton get on the restart?
There's going to be fairly strict instructions there, I would imagine. Yeah, they're in a position to lose everything and gain nothing with that fight. So let's see. But they're not directly under threat, because the man with the fresh tyres, Sainz, has Perez in front of him, between him and the Mercedes. So it's a little bit less critical than it would be if Sainz was still third.
So safety car deployed. George Russell leads the Grand Prix. He's on 14-lap-old soft tyres. Lewis Hamilton is second. He's on 12-lap-old soft tyres. Sergio Perez is in third. He's on 7-lap-old medium tyres. Carlos Sainz is fourth. He's on 7-lap-old soft tyres. Bottas is fifth on 9-lap-old softs. Leclerc is sixth on 11-lap-old softs.
So what are we doing? Are we racing or securing the 1-2?
So you are racing. Just be respectful.
Whoa, spicy.
Wow.
You weren't expecting that, clearly.
No.
They didn't get your memo.
Well, to be fair, they have always said, haven't they? They want to put on a show for the fans. That they want to race. Toto said that before, so it's consistent with what they've said. I am still a little bit surprised, because they're completely in the box seat here. Yeah, we've seen so many accidents already this weekend. It's a tough circuit to race hard and fair on.
I'm fairly flabbergasted. Look, I'm here for it. Who doesn't love? Who loves Team Order's hold station? But very, very surprising. Very surprising.
Just out of interest, I've been listening across to Charles Leclerc's radio. He said, we're sure that we want to stay out. And his engineer, Xavier, saying we would lose 4 to 5 positions. But they made the decision to stay out for Leclerc. He's still out there. He's currently in P6.
I don't think I'm not sure if he pits, he gains a huge amount, to be honest. He loses places. His tyres are 10 laps old. Maybe he's got another set of softs, but they'll have had, 7 or so laps on them from a qualifying set. So don't think it would have been worth Leclerc pitting.
The other man this benefits is Alonso, of course, who had only just made that stop onto his fresh softs, and they are brand new. He's one of very few drivers out there who is on a brand new set, the other being Verstappen. But you know, Ocon, his teammate in front, is on slightly older softs. He's got Vettel to aim for as well. Bottas, who's up in 5th. You know, this is the midfield battle that Leclerc is finding himself in the middle of.
If you're George Russell right now, you know the restart's going to be coming relatively soon. You know that you'll have Lewis Hamilton.
He's having flashbacks there.
Yeah.
So Hamilton's saying we've got people with brand new tyres behind us. But sort of not really. I mean, yes, Sainz, but they're not brand new. Sainz's tyres are 8 laps old. Hamilton's are 13 laps old, so they're a bit fresher. But it's not we're not Abu Dhabi 21 here.
No. Thank goodness. Is George Russell feeling a little let down if the team go racy off the restart?
I mean, I'm sure he's a bit disappointed to hear that, but equally, you know, he's a racing driver. He knows that Lewis is one of his direct competition, and you know, I'm sure that if Lewis outraces him for these last 10, 15 laps, he's not going to come back saying, "Oh, why didn't we hold station? We should have done that." He'll take it on the chin and accept that he was outraced on that day. The people that have something to lose here are Mercedes as a team. If there is a clash, you know, then it will look like a silly decision, won't it?
If you were there in George Russell's ear, what are you saying to him right now? He's leading this Grand Prix. It's behind the safety car. We're on 57 of 71, and he's going to have Hamilton right next to him at the restart.
I'd just say, look, mate, you know, you've been fastest all day. You've been controlling this from the start. You've got similar tyres to Lewis. There's no big differential there. There's no reason why you can't just close this out. There's only a short 10, 15 laps to go. So, you know, stay calm, keep moving forward, and service as usual, please.
Sainz on Perez is going to be racy. And we saw Russell. Do you think Russell will do the same restart tactic as before? Because it went well for him, but then now everyone knows his plan.
Yeah, that's the thing. I love safety car restarts.
Were you ever in one of those F2 Baku ones?
I have multiple times, and I was leading for a couple of them.
Oh, really? Did you cause any chaos?
I didn't, because I'm a very nice person. But what did happen is, because obviously the first one you can basically do what you want, people might have an inkling of what you might prefer. And in this instance, it was George going late to avoid getting that big toe effect behind him. They're going to be expecting that, or at least have their suspicions that you might do the same next time around. So you have to change it up. So you kind of move down your options list, so plan B, plan C, so on. And he may decide to go super early just to catch people off guard. Although with a 7-time world champion behind you, I'd say the chances of that are. So then plan C might be, well, I'll go late again, but I'll just check the exact position a little bit. I'll keep him guessing, you know.
Why is the safety car not coming in? I mean, the car is there ready for 2 laps.
We are still yet to allow lap cars past.
So there's, and just as they say that, race control says lap.
Why is the safety car not coming in? I mean, the car is there ready for 2 laps.
We are still yet to allow lap cars past.
Russell was doing a very good job of using weaving as well as almost a distraction technique in the first restart, and trying to throw his rivals off from guessing when he gets on that throttle pedal. And he'll try to do that again, I'm sure, and just, you know, just try and confuse them as much as he can.
Just while they're unlapping themselves, Valtteri Bottas, Alfa Romeo, has managed to get himself up to P5.
Yeah, very quietly as well.
What an amazing piece of achievement that would be. They're trying to defend their place in the championship. They're currently in 6th. Aston Martin just 4 points behind them. 12 points behind them is Haas, and 2 points behind them is AlphaTauri. It's a really hard-fought battle. And if Bottas can keep a 5th, it's going to be hard work, don't get me wrong. But if he could keep up, my word, that would be a huge payday for them.
Don't really know how he did it, because
I know
he's on the same kind of strategy as most others. Obviously, you've got Norris out, Ricciardo out, Magnussen out.
Fernando behind has a tyre advantage on us. Let's not focus on him. Let's make sure we concentrate on beating Vettel eventually. Let's make sure we let him through nice and cleanly, please. And if you can confirm that, please, as well.
Let me race at the moment. I will, once the situation is settled a bit more. But we can lose everything now also at the restart.
Esteban, I don't want you fighting with Fernando. Is that understood?
I need to pass Vettel now. I won't fight Fernando.
That's fine. You can pass Vettel. I do not want you fighting Fernando, as long as that's clear.
So that's a very a safety car will be in at the end of this lap.
I don't know what, just quickly, I don't know what is going on with Tsunoda here, because
Fernando behind has a tyre advantage on us. Let's not focus on him. Let's make sure we concentrate on beating Vettel eventually. Let's make sure we let him through nice and cleanly, please. And if you can confirm that, please, as well.
Let me race at the moment. I will once the situation is settled a bit more. But we can lose everything now also at the restart.
Esteban, I don't want you fighting with Fernando. Is that understood?
I need to pass Vettel now. I won't fight Fernando.
That's fine. You can pass Vettel. I do not want you fighting Fernando, as long as that.
been wiped out as well. So that's a lot of cars in front of him that have been knocked out of the running, but it's still doing a good job. Don't get me wrong, but that it's a shame Alonso's leaving Alpine. Another year of this would have been great.
Well, I think it's because he's leaving Alpine that this is all going on.
Well, yeah.
But there's a few ignition points potentially across the whole field here, so there's going to be quite a lot going on. So lights are now out on the safety car.
Oh, has Russell gone?
No. It's far too close to the safety car. He catch it before the pit entry. So he's just getting a last little bit of a brake temperature in there into the final corner. He's still going slowly. He's going to have to let that safety car go now. He's too close to go super early out the last corner.
Safety car ending. George Russell about to do another restart with Hamilton in second place. Perez in third, who's leaving quite a big gap back to Lewis Hamilton. Perez got a great restart last time through. Sainz is there on the freshest of tyres. Russell still weaving. There he goes. Russell gets on the power and Perez is nowhere near. Hamilton's nowhere near as well. Tsunoda's pulling over before the timing line, which could cause a bit of carnage. But everybody in the top four remain the same. Leclerc sends it on Bottas and goes through. And Ocon's on the attack straight away as well. And Ocon gets Vettel, just like he said he would. Ocon gets ahead of Vettel and is now tucked up behind Valtteri Bottas for sixth position as they come down towards turn 4. Meanwhile, Sainz is attacking Perez to the outside and he can't quite get the job done. Perez holds on to third place. Mercedes 1-2. Russell ahead of Hamilton. Perez in third. Sainz in fourth. Leclerc is into fifth. He got ahead of Bottas, who's down to sixth. Ocon and Alonso's got past Vettel now as well. So that Ocon-Alonso fight will continue to simmer, but he did say he wouldn't fight Alonso once it had settled down, so we'll keep an eye on that one. But Perez is the man on the big defensive ride at the moment, and he was nowhere on the restart. The two Alpines side by side coming into Pico de Pato. Alonso goes through. Alonso gets ahead of Ocon, and that did look like it was fair play from the two of them. Shame. Lap 60 and 71. Russell across the line to start lap 61, and here comes Sainz again. He's riding the slipstream of Perez. No DRS at the moment after the safety car restart, but Sainz might not need it. Down towards the first corner at the CNRS, he hasn't quite got the closing speed, but he's got the lunge. Oh, he can't get it done. Can't get it done, but he's now setting Perez.
Is he doing it on purpose or what?
We don't know. We'll let you know as soon as possible.
I mean, I don't know the reason, but if there are no reasons, that deserves it back.
And he's fighting really hard. Bottas is defending from Alonso coming into Desira del Lago. And he's hold the place for the time being, although Alonso gets on the power coming into the left-hander. That means he'll be on the outside for the right-hander of Ferradura. He's gone around the outside of Button there in the past, and he's gone around the outside of Bottas here now. So Fernando Alonso up into sixth place. Everything is falling Alonso's way today after it all went wrong for him yesterday, but he's got Max Verstappen right behind the other Alpine of Ocon. So the order is Russell, Hamilton, Perez, the top three. Sainz and Leclerc trying to bear down on Perez. Alonso is sixth, Bottas is seventh, Ocon is eighth, Verstappen is ninth. Sebastian Vettel completes the top 10. How close is Sainz to the back of Perez this time? It's still about half a second, still no DRS. So unless go, I don't think he's going to lunge it this time through. Aggressive stuff, great racing everywhere.
That Red Bull is just too slippery in a straight line, isn't it? Without the help of DRS, Sainz can't really get anywhere near the back of it, and he had to go very, very deep on the brakes to even have a chance of getting up the inside of Perez. And then Perez was quite cheeky. He started edging out Sainz on turn 3, pushing him towards the outside and just giving him the choice of lift or head for the grass, mate.
Lap 62 of 71. Verstappen is now trying to pass Esteban Ocon, and just getting a replay of Ocon at the restart, going to the inside of Sebastian Vettel, and there was a big lockup from Bottas and from Vettel, and it was great stuff from Ocon to send it there, and hasn't got ahead of Bottas just yet. They're coming through the middle sector. Here's Sainz's radio.
The only mistake.
Tell Carlos to push maximum.
Trying the move, but it was very close. He's going to have the DRS this time, though. Carlos Sainz, as they come out over the start-finish straight, this is going to be his best chance. How hard is Perez going to fight? Sainz is still a bit of a way back, but he loves a late lunge. Perez knows it, so he covers the inside off. Here's Charles Leclerc's radio.
Tell Carlos to push maximum.
Copy, understood.
Great advice from Charles Leclerc. Tell Sainz to push as hard as he can. He's going to get a really good chance here. Carlos Sainz to the outside, coming into the Largo, and the move is done. Sainz is up into third position. Verstappen has got ahead of Bottas into the first corner as well. And so Verstappen up into 7th place, but Sainz is up into 3rd, and now Perez versus Leclerc is going to be the fight for 4th and 5th positions.
Yeah, I don't think he needed telling, Carlos. He was fully committed to those moves there. And we're getting a replay now of Verstappen, who's...
Okay, Lance, they're investigating Schumacher, but no more track limits, turn 4.
Push me off.
Yeah, I know, mate, they're investigating.
So getting caught out, no DRS for the Alfa Romeo.
Glorious.
And they just catch him going into the braking zone, and everybody makes it through there cleanly. Very nice work from all drivers there.
Bahrain, the opening race of the season, is the only Grand Prix that no Red Bull was on the podium, but it could well be the case today because Sainz is now up into 3rd place, Mercedes are running 1st and 2nd, and it could be 4th place for Ferrari now as well because Leclerc's in the slipstream and Perez squeezes him, but he's too close, can't stop him. Perez loses out and Leclerc is up into 4th spot now, so things going backwards for Red Bull today. They're not going to score a huge amount of points, and in fact even Alonso might fancy Perez here. He's in the slipstream coming down towards turn 4, dramatically noses to the inside to try and put Perez off a little bit, but see what Alonso's pace is here. Lap 64 of 71. The two Mercedes are only separated by a second. Hamilton's nearly in DRS range of George Russell, so that's a fun fight too. Jenny Gow.
Yeah, Alonso and Ocon, obviously Alpine battling McLaren hard for 4th in the championship, and McLaren with 2 DNFs today, so they need to keep it clean. They've not been best of friends this weekend or all season, but at the moment Alonso P6, Ocon P8, and that would be a nice haul of points.
I mean, Alonso is all over the back of Perez. This has been a terrible or unfortunate strategy call for Perez, who obviously he was caught out timing-wise really with that late safety car, and Alonso with the much fresher softs is all over him through the last sector. He's got a decent run on him, and he'll have DRS coming into turn 1, and it looks like he's going to get a run even with the impressive straight line speed.
Perez
goes to the inside.
Whoa! Perez covered the inside. Alonso tried to fully get to the inside, couldn't quite get in there. Now he's got a really good run coming out of Curva do Sol. Now gets on the power, down towards the Ciudad del Lago. Perez covers the inside, but this is Alonso's opportunity. To the outside into turn 4 and through. Fernando Alonso up into 5th place, and the Red Bulls are now down to 6th and 7th in this Grand Prix. Lap 65 of 71. Russell leading the way for Mercedes, 1.4 seconds ahead of Lewis Hamilton in 2nd, 3 seconds back Carlos Sainz in 3rd, 1.8 seconds to Leclerc in 4th. 5th is Fernando Alonso in the Alpine, 6th and 7th for Red Bull, 8th for Ocon, 9th for Bottas, 10th for Lance Stroll.
Pretty much all season, Red Bull have been faultless. Then all of a sudden, they've turned up to the penultimate race of the year, and we've found a gap. Bizarre.
George Russell is looking set for his first Formula One victory, and Mercedes for their first win of the season. Russell is leading Hamilton, and we have just got 5 laps to go. Carlos Sainz is in 3rd. Verstappen and Hamilton collided.
Your tyres are 3 laps newer than Bottas's. He's soft as well. He's struggling. So Sebastian's going to let you through. Then we have a good go at Bottas.
He can keep going if he wants. I think he has the pace.
He doesn't. He's going to let you by.
They're both still pushing, aren't they, Russell and Hamilton? But the gap settles down a little bit at 1.2 what is going to happen with Verstappen and Perez as well.
Here's a replay now of Alonso, and it's showing his move on Perez. He went for the inside. Perez covered him off very late. Alonso cut back to the outside and set himself up for a really good exit through turn 1, turn 2, then just hung on the outside of him through the long turn 3 to not lose speed in the dirty air, and got the move done with DRS.
Maybe let's get Leclerc.
Yes, baby.
Let's get Leclerc is the message, and he was 3/10 slower on that last lap. So it's an ambitious one for Alonso, but some would describe him as ambitious.
Okay, Max, go and take some points off Alonso and Leclerc, please. Okay, Max, go and take some points off Alonso and Leclerc, please.
Okay, I was 5 laps to go now. I was wondering whether they would have Verstappen hold station behind Perez, but it doesn't look like it, because Verstappen throws it down the inside into turn 1, and he is now up into 5th place. So they want him to catch Alonso and Leclerc in particular, to take points off Leclerc. It's going to be quite a tall order to pull off.
It's a neat way to solve that question that Perez will definitely have been asking, isn't it? Can I please have some more points? And they'll say, yeah, you can have more points by letting Max through and getting him to take points off your rivals. So it's a nice diplomatic solution there.
Pierre Gasly and Mick Schumacher have had a little fight over 13th place. Oh, they've had a lovely fight over 13th place. And Schumacher held the position and very, very close to contact there, coming down into turn 2. It was almost identical.
In the last lap, you're together, you're swapped back.
Max and Lewis, it was a little bit more disastrous than that, but they got away with it on that occasion.
So Russell and Hamilton, a Mercedes 1-2 at the moment. Here's Sergio Perez's radio.
In the last lap, you're together, you're swapped back.
Okay, there we go then. So if on the last lap they're together, Verstappen and Perez, they'll swap back so that Perez can get the points in the fight for second in the championship.
The difference between Red Bull's philosophy and Mercedes is quite stark, isn't it here? Mercedes going, let them race. They're now it's still around 1.2 seconds between George Russell leading this and Lewis Hamilton, and they're the Red Bulls kind of orchestrating everything. They can. They're championship winners, but my word.
The championship in positions are like this.
Understood. Like, look, I don't know. Is this part of me thinks, get a life, guys?
Okay, Valtteri, Stroll is now 3/10 from DRS. We need everything you got for these last 4 laps.
Race yesterday, 5th-place grid drop, came through from 7th today to 3rd place. We're really gonna swap who's on the podium so that you can finish 2nd in the championship instead of 3rd in the drivers' standings.
If I'm Sainz, I'm disregarding that message. What you said? What? At which lap did you say that? I'm terribly sorry. I didn't hear you.
Unplug the radio situation, I think.
Yeah,
that's harsh.
It's been done before. Who knows?
You done that? Clearly you have.
I've had radio malfunctions before.
When you chose them.
3 laps to go. You're a rascal.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Careful, otherwise you might have a radio malfunction right now.
On the task at hand. Hamilton's holding station, isn't he? He's 1.2 seconds behind, and he's not really making much of a dent. And one feels that he's hovering around that gap because he's just getting to the dirty air of Russell, and he doesn't have the pace.
They're good this way again. I don't know why.
In terms of lap times, and that just looks like it's the case again. He doesn't have the advantage to break into that DRS.
We'll get more into this in the Checker Flag podcast later on. Well, we might not. I never really know what we're going to talk about, but we don't need a too in-depth chat about it now. But is this a great sign for next season in terms of the competitive fight at the front?
I think so. It's good to see Mercedes back on form, isn't it? And it's not just like they've turned up this weekend and suddenly they've managed to get back up to the front. They've been coming on for a while now. They've been knocking on the door. And it's impressive to see them actually get a 1-2, not just a race win. And it's exactly what they would have wanted.
Well, definitely talk about that, Jack and Jack.
Okay, but who knows? We might forget.
Well, we might end up somewhere else.
We can get on some pretty wide tangents. So no guarantees for anything.
Penultimate lap of the Grand Prix now. George Russell looking in his mirror all the way through the left-hander of turn 3. And he's 1.3 seconds ahead of Lewis Hamilton as they have a lap and a half to go now. Sainz in 3rd, Leclerc in 4th, Alonso 5th. Verstappen is 1.2 seconds back from Alonso. And on that last lap, was 2 tenths quicker. So he's got a bit A shot at getting Alonso, but not a huge one. 7th for Perez, 8th for Ocon, 9th for Bottas, 10th for Stroll. Vettel down in 11th after he was having such a lovely race earlier on. Not quite sure how it's gone so wrong for Vettel. It has been, and we'll get onto this in the Check of Love podcast too, has been a tough day for Perez, considering where he started, where he was running, what happened to Verstappen, where Verstappen's come through the field. Perez is kind of often in the second half of this season slipping into that Albon Gasly kind of realm a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, he is one of the guys that was caught out by that late safety car, isn't it? It's what happened to Vettel, it's what happened to Bottas, who's down in 9th as well from 5th. You know, tyre age has had such a...
Please think about the championship every point.
Almost in a safety car restart fashion.
Yeah, if you picked it between lap 45 and 48, and unfortunately that list, they all did.
Mercedes have not won a race all season, but now they are 1st and 2nd in Sao Paulo. It's been a dramatic Brazilian Grand Prix. This is Charles Leclerc's radio.
Please think about the championship every point.
Leclerc is running in 4th place. His Ferrari teammate Carlos Sainz is in 3rd, and he's desperate for Ferrari to switch the positions so that Leclerc can finish 3rd, get more points, and fight for 2nd in the championship.
We believe it's too risky.
Good job.
And the team saying it's too risky for them, but there's not much risk anymore for George Russell. He's only got one more corner to go until he takes his first ever victory in Formula One. Russell started on pole position, comes out of the...
Max, if we don't pass Fernando on the exit of 12, can we let Checo through, please?
Verstappen and Perez are going to swap places for 6th. But there's no swapping places at Mercedes because it's George Russell who comes across the line, takes the checkered flag, wins for the first time in Formula One, beats Lewis Hamilton to victory. Mercedes started 1st and 2nd on the grid. They've won the race with a 1-2. George Russell wins for the first time, and that is a big, big sign from Mercedes going into next season that they may well be back in the fight at the front. George Russell wins his first race in Formula One, Robbie. Delight for Russell, delight for the Mercedes team. Hamilton in 2nd place. And Verstappen didn't swap back with Perez.
Cheeky.
Verstappen crossed the line, still 4 seconds ahead.
Radio malfunction
of Sergio Perez. So neither of the teams.
George Russell, you are a Formula One race winner.
Woo! Come on, team! Come on! 1-2, unbelievable! Come on! This is just the beginning, guys. This is just the beginning. Woo! So proud of all of you. Come on! This is just the beginning, guys. This is just the beginning. Woo! So proud of all of you.
I'm going to say something controversial here. We will see whether we might hear Hamilton's radio in a minute. I think Hamilton is going to be happier with this result than with a lot of his Grand Prix wins.
I think he will be happy. He's shown that he's a team player. I think, you know, he's always been pushing for the team to move forwards, and I think the relationship he's got with George, for now at least, is pretty positive. So, and we'll hear from him.
Nice work, Lewis. What an awesome weekend. So it's a great team result, 1-2.
Congratulations to the team. Thank you so much for your consistent efforts. This is an amazing result for everybody, and congratulations to George. Really so happy for everybody.
Yeah, fantastic recovery, Lewis. Brilliant job. See you at the podium.
Lewis, really well done. Another strong drive today.
Brilliant drive.
James Vowles in there on the radio, and
Andrew Shovlin.
It was Andrew Shovlin.
And Toto right at the end?
Yeah, Toto's calling in on Zoom by the sound of it. Yeah.
Yeah. He said he was going to miss a few races. If he's missed this one, he will be gutted.
I knew we could do this. I knew it. Oh, I need some tissue to cry, boys and girls.
The pit lane.
So into the pit lane comes George Russell and pulls up in the number 1 spot. A new race winner in Formula One.
I knew we could do this. I knew it. Oh, I need some tissue to cry, boys and girls.
The pit lane.
not exactly must have been wondering what he'd done, because obviously leaving Williams was obviously the better option, but wasn't jumping into the race-winning car that he thought he was going to be. Now he has a race-winning car, and he's taken his first victory. Leaps off into the mechanics, and huge delight for George Russell. Takes his first win in Formula One, and Mercedes' first win of the season. He doesn't quite know what to do. He's just jumping around like, I don't even know, like an excited child.
He looks like a jack in the box that's been like taken away from the confines of his box, and he's just bouncing around like
He looks like the Mercedes car in the early part of the season, doesn't he?
Oh, look, and now he's down on his haunches. He cannot believe this. It's not.
We are very proud of you too.
What? That was not.
Well done, George. Amazing drive. Well done.
Awesome job, George. Enjoy the moment, and we'll see you on the podium.
And George, Toto says that wasn't
Stuff. This will mean so much to that Brackley team, and so much to everyone who wants the battle in Formula One.
It's going to fuel them over the winter, isn't it? You know, we'll see what happens in Abu Dhabi, but so close to the end of the season, and such a strong performance is just what they needed going into that winter break, and looking forward to next year and hopefully taking the fight to Red Bull.
He's making the most of the diving into the mechanics move, isn't he? That's his third dip in the mechanics.
They're really spread out. Like, they're not all in one pocket. There's loads of photographers right in the way.
Get organised. It's like it's your first time or something.
So Russell making his way over. He'll take off his helmet.
P3, good job. Solid sprinter race.
Yeah, solid weekend, guys. It's a shame our car is so quick, but solid weekend.
Ferme after the Brazilian Grand Prix.
Carlos, it was definitely an amazing race from you here in Interlagos. Everything's always happened here, you know. Sometimes the result is always different what I expected at the beginning. How was the race? And especially at the end, really good pace, good tires to get the possibility to be on the podium.
Yeah, I think overall it was a good race. We did have some problems there at the start with the brakes on fire. We had to stop early, which meant we had to commit to a 3-stop that maybe today wasn't the fastest given the degradation. But from there I pushed flat out to try and catch back on Checo. We had a good run on Checo at the end. Good podium after starting P7.
Alright, no chance following. Very difficult. Anyways, thank you.
Yeah, good job. They just didn't quite have enough grip or pace there.
Simply the quickest car, quicker than the Red Bull, quicker than us. I think it's been a few weekends like that, so in Abu Dhabi we need to expect them to win, and we need to either do damage limitation or go for the win ourselves also.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lewis, you feel a little bit Brazilian now. Amazing race, driver of the day, so congratulations for your really good job. Having a little bit of trouble at the beginning, so how you think it was, that contact with Max, and also after amazing race you did?
Okay, that's the checker flag. That's P5, mate. P5. That's how we fight back.
Oh, yes, congrats, guys. Very good result. Very nice race, good strategy, good comeback. Proud of you guys. One more to go.
Thank you, mate, and perfect execution from your side.
And so this is hugely deserved from everybody. So big thank you. What can I say? You know how it is with Max. So
I think what you should say something is for everyone that the overtaking we're doing, the whole grandstand we support you massively. So I think that
muito obrigado. Big thank you to everyone here in Brazil. I've really had one of the best weeks of my life here, just with how everyone's accepted me here and the warm welcome I've had. So yeah, excited to come back here again, and hopefully some holidays in future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that is the checker flag and P8. Well done. very well driven.
Yeah, very happy for you guys. Very happy for you.
Brian, I understand how is the feeling of the first victory. Really, congratulations. Yesterday I told you it's the first of many, and today you did an amazing. So just tell how you feel and the pace of your car. You know, the perfect job you did on the race. So really, really congratulations.
What an amazing feeling. Just a huge thank you to the whole team for making this possible. It's been an emotional roller coaster this season. This race was a really tough race. I felt in control. Lewis was super fast, and then when I saw the safety car, I thought, oh Jesus, this is going to be a really difficult end. And you know, he put me under so much pressure, but so happy to come away with the victory.
And how is the feeling? I mean, remember all your career, everything you passed through, starting from the karting, all of the championships that you fight, and you arrive here in an amazing season you are doing. Really an amazing season with a team that didn't start so well, and now you guys show the pace to win. And I think that's a really important thing, and especially the first victory is yours.
Yeah, I'm speechless. On the lap, all of these memories sort of come flooding back, and starting off with my mum and dad in go-karting and going through, and all the support I've had from the rest of my family, my girlfriend, my trainer, my manager. I mean, obviously, the likes of Gwen, who gave me the opportunity to get on the program with Mercedes, and Jane Vowles and Toad. The list is endless. I can't thank enough, and yeah, super proud.
Enjoy your moment, and really congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Clearly, it means the world to George Russell as he waves to the grandstands and he revels in the fact that he is now a Formula One Grand Prix winner. When he signed on the dotted line for Mercedes, I guess...
That's P16.
Off. Mercedes finally have their first win of the year, and as Jack said so eloquently, does that line us up for a sizzler of a season in 2023? Still got one race to go. Don't forget Abu Dhabi next weekend. It'll bring back some memories, but my word, we are looking forward to it. Do not forget to subscribe and download the Checkered Flag podcast, where we'll be having so many discussions about so much of what happened on and off track this weekend. I think you could agree it's been a stunner, from Magnussen getting pole position to George Russell taking his first win. Thank you so much for being part of it. This has been an IMG production for BBC Radio 5 Live. Goodbye for now.